Hello everyone, welcome back to Code with Beto. Expo SDK 53 is finally available, and in today's video we are diving into all of the new features that you need to be aware of. Let's dive in. If you want to become a master in React Native, check out my course at codewithbeto.dev, link in the description. This course covers everything from 0 to expert level using React Native and Expo, as well as Expo application services to automate and ship faster. Make sure to check that out. And now that said, let's dive into the blog post announcement. SDK 53 includes React Native 79 and React 19, which is super cool. So the way you can create a new project using Expo SDK 53 is by using the template default and then SDK 53. So if I run this command here, it's going to ask me for my name. So I'm going to say tutorial SDK 53. This is the name of my application, and let's hit enter. Okay, just like that, we are in, and I can see the into tutorials, and then I can open this quickly just to see what's going on in here. This is how the project looks, super simple. And if I go to the package JSON, which is what I want to show you, here we have all the info about this project. And the important thing to notice here is that we have the Expo 53. And if we look at the React version, is the 19. So this is a template, and you can create an app right now if you want to follow along with me. If you already have a project with a previous version and you want to test the SDK 53 beta, you can upgrade. So right now, as you can see, I'm using already 53 in this project, but it's a previous version. So to install the latest one, and this is going to apply it as well for upgrading from SDK 52, you can say npx expo install add next and hit enter. So by using the next tag, this is going to install the latest version, which is preview 5. Once you upgrade the Expo SDK version, you need to upgrade all the per dependencies to match the SDK version that you are using. So you can say npx expo install and then pass a flag fix. This is going to upgrade all the dependencies according to the SDK version. Okay, that was quick. So after that, I recommend creating a new build. If you are using Expo Go, you can just run it on Expo Go. But in this case, I'm using a development build. So I'm going to say npx expo pre-build and just hit enter. This is going to regenerate the iOS and Android folders on the left. Okay, once that's ready, I'm going to say npx expo run iOS. React Native 79 comes with some sweet features, and one of the highlights is Metro faster startup and package export support. This is cool, but also on the React Native 78 release, they added support for React 19. And this is super exciting. That's I would say the most important thing, because now we can use actions, use action state, use optimistic, use ref as prop, and so much more. So all this means that Expo SDK 53 now allows you to use these new features of React 19. I want to show you a quick example of how we can use these new features from React 19. So right now I can come here and say import from React, and I'm gonna import use. Use is actually not a hook, but is something like memo, which allows you to use promises and context. So let's create a promise that is going to do a fetch request and fetch Pikachu information. Pikachu equal to, and this is going to be a fetch request using the Poke API, and this is my promise. So now inside my component, I can use this promise by saying Pikachu equal to use promise Pikachu, and now we can just go ahead and render info. So if I hit save, we get a bunch of data on the right. This is just like the response, the raw response, but then we can say then response return response.json, and this is going to bring the data. So now we can display Pikachu nicely. We can also use now suspense to show a loading indicator while we fetch Pikachu. So I abstracted the Pikachu card down here that is using the use, and then in here I can wrap this into a suspense with a fallback. And this is going to make sure that we are rendering a loading state while we are loading Pikachu. So I'm going to update the promise to have 2 seconds delay so that we can see the loading state on the right. And after 2 seconds, we render the component. This is all now possible in SDK 53. The new architecture is now a default for new projects, which is great. This means that in your app.json, this new architecture is going to be always enabled for new projects. If you are upgrading your application from the old architecture, make sure that the dependencies that you are using are compatible with the new architecture. For that, you can use React Native directory, and you should see something like this, where it shows that it supports the new architecture. For example, if you are using this one or Legend List app, it supports new architecture. This one is a huge one as well. SDK 53 comes with Edge-to-Edge by default. So at Expo, we were working with Sontech, which is this really nice guy that you should go and follow. And he created this React Native Edge-to-Edge module that allows to basically use the entire screen on Android devices. Google recently announced that Edge-to-Edge is going to be enforced, meaning that this is going to be a feature that is going to be turned on by default on devices that run Android 15, targeting API level 35. So for example, here we have an app that targets Android 14 and is not edge-to-edge, meaning that we have this ugly status bar at the top right. But if we keep scrolling down, this is how it looks now. The new status bar looks amazing, and we have this kind of blur that I really like. So you can expect to see this in Expo Go and all your new projects. Now you can test the new Expo UI in Expo SDK 53. So how many times when you want to integrate anything like a picker, a bottom sheet, color picker, emoji picker, whatever, you have to go and search for a package from the community. Sometimes it's outdated, sometimes no one is maintaining it. That's what Expo UI is aiming to solve. Expo UI gives developers easy access to native UI components. As you can see here, Swift UI, Jetpack Compose. At the moment, it has essential primitives like toggles, sliders, context menus, pickers, and lists. Now, very important guys, right now it's in alpha version, which means it's highly experimental and is changing fast. But if you want to try it out, you can do it in Expo SDK 53. If you want to learn more about these components, you can go to the new section of UI in the SDK 53 here in the reference and just dive into what's new, like seeing some screenshots of the bottom sheet. These documents are going to change as well. We are improving them, but I want to give you a small sneak peek of how this looks in action. I have installed this Expo application, which is what actually the teams uses for testing. So this is the app. So for example, this is the button component. And what I love about Expo UI is that it's just what you can expect when you are writing Swift UI for iOS. Same for Android, but with Jetpack Compose. So we have the system styles, we have the disable look, button roles like destructive, default, cancel. We can also add system images. In this case, adding icons is going to be super easy, native. You don't need to install any third-party library. So this is huge. That's a button. Let's see the picker. This is the picker, fully native. And you can have like menu pickers, segment pickers, selected view. Imagine being able to just import this picker from Expo UI. You don't need to install anything else. Here we have the date time picker. Look at this. And we can change between graphical, wheel, hour, date, and have this really nice native UI. These are primitives, guys, that you can then compose into more complex native views. And to give you an example of that, we have this Swift UI container at the bottom, which basically it's rendering a Swift UI view with more Expo UI components inside of it. And at the end of the day, we get this really nice result with combined components. Like in this case, we have the speaker inside a form view, and then we have this switch inside this form as well, and then we have the speaker, this button, and it's also combining Swift UI with UI view from UIKit. So this is very powerful. Basically, you can have both UIKit components combining with your normal text from React Native and also combining it with Swift UI components. This is the switch component. We can change it to be a checkbox or a button switch, which is really nice. One of my favorites, context menu. If you long press, it's going to show you more info with this context menu here. This is super cool. And you can trigger this with a button as well. This is how it looks. Now, the nice thing about this, guys, is that it's fully compatible as well with dark mode. So if I switch, of course, the app is not compatible, but these components are going to react to the system theme. Let's see the color picker. Fully native, this is how it looks. We also have a text input. We have a progress component as well. We have the list components, which I kind of showed you already. We also have a bottom sheet component, which is really nice, fully native. What I really like about this native bottom sheet is that on Swift UI, when you open a bottom sheet, it actually disables the buttons on the background. So as you notice, when I opened this bottom sheet, the button gets disabled, except for this one, which is not using, I guess, native component. Let's see how the Expo UI looks like in Android. Let's see the button component. These are going to be native Jetpack Compose components. button. This is how it looks. This is the picker. A bit different on Android, but fully native. We also have a daytime picker. This is how it looks. We can change between input like this, hour and minutes. So as you notice, at the end of the day, iOS and Android provide the same APIs, and Expo UI, it's bringing them together, providing that native component using the same API in your JavaScript code. So this is how it looks. The switch section component, I'm guessing, is only for Android at the moment because I tried to access it and the app broke. The context menu should be available as well on Android. So if I long press here, this is how it looks. And then we can press this button to show the context menu as well. Then we have a colorful menu. This is how it looks as well. Let's see the slider. Fully native as well. This is how it looks. Color picker is only for iOS. We also have a text input, a progress component. List component looks like it's only for iOS at the moment. Let's check out bottom sheet, and looks like bottom sheet, it's only working on iOS at the moment. One more thing that I wanted to mention is that you can also add button images on Android, and looks pretty nice. This is how it looks. And if I toggle the theme, you notice that the buttons react to the system. Okay, cool. That's a brief overview of Expo UI. Now next we have another bump, which is that now we have experimental support for caching local builds. And the way it works is as follows. You set experiments remote build cache provider on EAS in your app config, and then you run a new build. Let's see this video right here. So first thing that you need to do is enable remote build cache. This means that the next time that you build your application, so in this case, npx run iOS as you saw, once the build is ready, this build is going to be cached on the EAS servers. So that's the application running. Now the application was uploaded to the cache, remote cache, and you have a link now. The next time that you uninstall the application and you need to install it again, let's say that you needed to reinstall it, you can simply run iOS, and EAS CLI is automatically going to detect if the build that we have cached on the server is compatible with the current state of your code base. And if that's the case, it's going to use the cache. And as you saw, it's a native build that was installed in what, like half of a second? And oh, look at all my videos. But that is huge. I'm super excited for this feature, guys, because this means that you don't have to be building every time that you need to reinstall the application on your simulator. But on top of that, your teammates can use the same build that you created before. This is huge. Imagine that your teammate runs npx run iOS and the application gets installed in less than a second. I'm super excited for this new feature, and if you want to start caching, just enable this flag and that's it. There is also a new Expo Maps package that actually leverages the Swift UI and Jetpack Compose integration to show a native Apple Maps for iOS and native Google Maps for Android. It is an alpha, but you can start using it today, and it's actually available in the docs if you search for Expo Maps. And I have here an example that I was working on the other day. And this is actually using SDK 52. And if I go to the map tab, this is how it looks. So fully native, guys. And we have all the gestures from Apple. When I select one of these, I have extra information. And I'm actually setting all that in the code in here. My markers is just an array with this info. And just like that, I was able to create this really nice application that shows you where to get coffee in Canada. Vancouver. So because this is a fully native integration, this is going to work only for iOS. So that's why I have this validation with Apple Maps.view. But then in the other case, for Android, we have Google Maps view. And this also works on Android as well. If I come here to show you, I'm importing this from Expo Maps. So in my opinion, this is a very clean API and works seamlessly with all the features that you expect as a native iOS user or Android user. And if I switch to dark mode, it looks amazing as well. So I'm super excited for Expo Maps as well. There are so many new things, guys, so let's keep moving on. Improve Android build times when per build Expo modules. This is amazing. This is going to make your Android builds faster. The way it works is that we are pre-compiling the Expo modules. I mean, not all of them, but some of the Expo modules for Android in this SDK. So you could experience up to a 25% reduction in build time, depending on your hardware. But anyways, I think this is going to benefit you. By default, this feature is going to be enabled when using the new project template, which is the one that is using SDK 53. And as always, you can opt out or disable this by providing the build from source to the Expo auto link in the package JSON. So this is actually showing app.json, but it's the package JSON. So keep that in mind in case you want to disable it, but I don't think you want to do that. Expo updates now allows you to override the headers at runtime. This is actually dangerous a little bit, but if you know what you're doing, you can now set the update URL. This is useful in case you want to switch between updates for testing, for example. This enables the ability to allow a client to switch between updates, right? This is huge, especially for testing, and I would say for AI tools. React Server Functions is now in beta. This means that you can now deploy React Server Functions to your production with EAS hosting. You can learn more in the docs, but basically you need to set this environment variable along with the setting experiments React Server components to true in your app config, and that's it. Builds can now be deployed to testflight. This is amazing, guys, and if you are not using this feature, you are missing out. So in a project, if you run npx testflight, it's going to create a new build on the EAS servers, and then it's going to submit that to the App Store Connect. Then it's going to add that to internal testing and add all the admins of the Apple account as testers, and it's going to invite them to start testing the application with one single command. Even if your application is not created yet, this command is going to create it for you. The next one is one that I'm super excited about as well, guys. We now have support for Expo SQLite on web. I recently actually made a tweet where I upgraded my budget buddy application from Expo 50 to SDK 53, which is crazy. That everything just worked just fine. And here we have the proof of my budget buddy application working on web. And if you are curious about the changes, you can check out this PR. It's actually not super crazy, just 10 files changed, and you can come here and see all the changes that I made in case you are curious. There is a new opt-in React 19.1 support with improved errors available. And actually Evan from Expo, he tweeted now like the difference of how this looks when you're using React 19.1. You have better errors. It's actually going to tell you where the error is happening. This is of course experimental, but you can take advantage of it today if you want to by setting the experiments React Canary to true in the app config. That's all. And that's it for the quick overview of what's new in Expo SDK 53. Go try it out today and let me know what you think. Personally, I'm super excited for the new Expo UI, support for web on Expo SQLite, React 19, and so much more. Let me know in the comments what is your favorite new feature. Don't forget to check out the courses and projects at codeviveto.dev. Give it a like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you think, and I'll see you in the next one.